Hello everybody, and welcome to this introduction level animation tutorial in which I'm going to show you how we can take this furniture set we created in Fusion 360, export everything, bring it into Blender, and then create this fun little animation. By animating the position of various objects, how they come into the scene, how they rotate, how the lights turn on, and how we end this animation. All that done inside Blender. Looks pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let's do it. It's pretty easy. Trust me. Step one will be exporting everything. In this design, you see I have various models. I hide all the groups of the models I don't want to export because everything that's invisible isn't being exported. Then I go to the root of the design, right click and say Save as Mesh. Click OK, go to my desktop, and this is the bookshelf. Very good. When I zoom in, you see here we have razor sharp edges. These are not filleted or chamfered in Fusion 360. In real life, I would do this. For the animation, I don't need it because we're going to do this actually in Blender, just as a little tip. Let's go to my table, and here I have the lamp I only want, this smaller one, and then the imported kids play table. Everything again, what I see can be exported only. Right click, save as mesh. There we are. And simply save it to the desktop. Perfect. Let's go to Blender. Now in Blender, let's set up our environment first. I go to the render engine, set this to Eevee. Very good. Viewport sampling I set to 64. That makes stuff look nicer. Ambient we will come to later. Screen space reflection we will turn on. Very good. Color management, high contrast, very good. And then we go to our scene. Since everything is modeled in inches, I will switch the length here to inches, and then I go to the world, set this to white, and maybe 0.5 for the moment. Very good. Perfect. So now we have everything set up. Eevee, by the way, is a very fast real-time render engine, not photorealistic, but it is perfect to prototype animations. Looks also like a nice cartoon. Then we're going to import everything. File, import. Then we go to Wavefront. Navigate to where our files are. There we are. We will have Y forward, Z up, and split by group. When I do this and I import it, you see my bookshelf is imported with all the individual parts. Separate. Very good. If I want, I can call this bookshelf. How do you spell this? I don't know actually. Let's call this stuff. Should have double checked that. Import, wavefront, and here's the lamp stuff. Same settings. Y forward, Z up, and there we are. Pretty cool. Okay, very nice. So now we have actually brought in all our geometry, but because everything was modeled at times not really centered on the worlds, we have for all these objects the world origin or the object center point at the world origin. If I press N, you can see where the object is. Press A to select everything. Right click and then say origin to geometry. Now we see all these origin points are where the geometrical center is. That's very important because this origin point, that is what's being animated, and that will carry the geometry, the mesh. Think about it as a container, like a bucket. You move and the water comes with it. Very good. Okay, so now we can start thinking about create first a composition. what type of layout would I like to have during my animation. So we'll go to the top view, Z and wireframe, AA to select nothing, B select the lamp, B middle mouse button and drag over the rest of the stuff I don't want. One more time, G and move this lamp away. Then I can press AA, B, and then I select the bookshelf stuff, B middle mouse button and deselect stuff from the table and move the shelf to here. Very good. And then I can press AA, B, select this, go to the move command, and then center this. This is not CAD. We're not producing something, so we don't have to be perfectly perfect. But even for animation, since we are working with the coordinate system, it very often makes sense to try to be working as clean as possible. Very nice. So the table stuff, for example, is nicely set up. Okay, so let's start exploring how we can design stage more our scene. Go to the top view, AA, B, select this, R and 90 and enter. So I rotated it 90 degrees. G, move this maybe to here. Okay, or maybe like centered on the x-axis, and I'm using the grid for the spacing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Alt D, sorry, X, Shift D, X, and we move this over to the opposite direction. Again, I'm using the grid kind of to create a symmetry. That's good. AA, B, select this, G to here are 180, and there we are. I'm going to rotate this on 180 on purpose because this is now kind of like looking at a specific even direction along the y-axis, for example. To prevent any crazy math we have to do, I can select everything and then I go apply rotation. So you see now these objects do not have this rotation anymore. It's going to make animation later a lot easier. AA, B, select this, Shift D and X, bring this over, and kind of like position it in a similar location. There we are. Z, and there we are. Very good. Very nice. So let's, we need a plane. Shift A, make a plane. S, we can scale this plane nicely up. Can be big like this. Very good. Okay, this looks not too bad. Then, because the world here is kind of open, we need to have some walls. Let's make an environment. Z and wireframe. Shift A and add a plane. Going to edit mode. Then we press S to scale this up a little bit. Maybe like this. Bring this down with Shift left mouse button. Click these 2 points, X, and select the edges. Select those, move them up maybe to here, and then I press E and escape, and then S and X, and you see I scale them away. I also have actually, for example here, this selected. No, this is just an outline. Press A to select all, E and Z to extrude this up, kind of like to a believable height, like this. Beautiful. Z and solid view. Yeah, not too shabby. Now the wall's a little bit boring. We need an extra detail. For example, a baseboard. How can we do this? That's pretty simple. I'm going to close this one. Select the wall, select the ground, press M, say new collection, and say scene. And okay, so now I have those in here. This is, for example, the floor. This is the wall. The wall, I make a copy, Shift D and escape. Then I go into edit mode, move these points down. There we are. Exit edit mode, and then I will simply add a solidify modifier. Need to be careful about the direction. Let's say like here. Looks pretty good. Even thickness. And now this top edge I would like to chamfer. So I will apply this solidify modifier, go into edit mode, edge select, click on this edge, Alt Option click, and you see then this will select the complete loop. And then I can go give this a weight, bevel modifier. I don't know how far much it is, maybe 5 millimeters. And here just the weight. Let's zoom in. Oh, 1 centimeter. What about 1 inch? Oh, that's maybe too much. 0.75 of an inch. There we are. Very good. So it's a nice chamfered edge. Very good. Now adds a little bit of nice detail to it. Pretty cool. Okay. Now we can go to the front view, Shift A and camera. And then here, this camera, I move back. I'm going to prepare my scene. A horizontal split, right click a vertical split. This is going to be my camera. I will look through. There we are. And now I can move this to here. I can move this up a little bit. I can look down. I can go into local mode and move this along the z-axis further away. Okay, the baseboard in this demo looks a little bit massive. So I select my baseboard, edit mode, alt click on this edge, shift alt click or option on this edge, and then I can move this simply down a little bit and leave edit mode. NNT, yeah, this looks better. Pretty nice, pretty nice. We have actually kind of like vertical walls which are shifting and tilting. That's not really perfect. So I go to a side view, select my camera, make this to 90, and go to the camera tab, and then here change this. Look at this. Now we have nice vertical lines. Perfect. We have these two lamps. We can actually later put a light in it. Something here is missing. Let's bring another piece. So let's go to Fusion one more time. And I'm inside the design where I have the bookshelves, and I will go to this 4x4. There we are. And this one I will export now. Save as mesh. Same thing to the desktop. Very good. It overwrites the previous export. That's fine. Let's go back to Blender. In Blender now, we simply import this. There we are. Same settings. There is a geometry. And I will right click origin to geometry. Beautiful. Go to the top view, Z and wireframe. Now I can center this along the y-axis and move this onto the wall. Okay. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. That looks good. Our wall here is very paper thin. Let's give this a little bit of material. So solidify, let's say 5 inches. That's the wrong direction. This way, even thickness, very good. Now you can see now that it has a little bit of thickness. You will know in a moment while we actually did this. Very good. Okay. The camera I have, and put this into the scene. To make objects selectable, non-selectable, can turn on this selection filter. Now when I click on this, I cannot select it anymore. It's a very nice way to lock the selectability of an object. Pretty cool. Okay, let's hide this collection. I want to focus now on preparing all my objects. The lamp, as we can see, has a different material than, for example, the furniture pieces. So here, this is actually the, let's call this furniture material. 6 objects use it. We can press A to select everything what we see, and then we can press Ctrl L and say make a link to this material. That is the same also here. And now you see all these objects share the same material. Because they all will be very much the same. At this point, now we can start thinking of what's the end scene, kind of like what's the composition? How do I want stuff to look? Okay, let's turn on the scene again. Press Z and render it. So we have a little bit of light. That looks kind of bland now. Okay, select the ground, new, floor, and then we give this a nice orange. Let's select the wall. Also here we say orange and the baseboard too. There we are. Cool. What we also need to make this look more interesting is actual lights. Okay. I'm going to a top view. Shift A and then light and area. Can move this to somewhere here. Move this up. Ah, there you see now our stuff is happening. This light is way too small, so let's maybe make this 4 feet. Yeah, that looks better. 5 feet. And then move this to here, move this to there. Can go to a side view, rotate it, go to a top view, rotate it so it shines actually onto the wall. Z and rendered. Now and there we can see stuff looks kind of flat and diffused. What's going on? Well, this has actually a roughness on it. Oh, look, there's a reflection. And the same here we have too. When I select this material, it is very rough. So turn the roughness off and look, we have a reflection on the ground. Specularity 0.5. Make this a little bit reflective. Now you start seeing this starts to look a little bit better. The ground, we would like to have a little bit of reflectivity. So 0.2 for the roughness. Very good. But the walls, we don't necessarily want to be reflective. So this floor material, we make a copy and say wall, put roughness down to 0, and then the specularity we set to 0. Now it's flat. And the same we can do for the baseboard. We simply say here that should be the wall material. Now you see here that effect is gone. Or if we want, we can just give this a tiny bit of reflectivity, maybe a little bit more roughness. So there's a little bit of something happening. Our environmental light is also very strong. So let's maybe tune this down. Look at that. This light works much better now. Maybe it's a little bit too weak. With 20, that's much better. Very good. Now I can bring this over to the other side. I want the lights to be exactly the same. So if I modify one light, the other light gets the same color, power change. So I will do an duplicated link. So Alt Option D. I will go to global for the moment, Alt D and X, bring this over. So because I'm working with the symmetry along, for example, the Y axis, this is Y here. This I can copy, Control C, select this light, and Control V over the Y. Whoops, I copied the wrong thing. Aha, should be the x-axis, my fault. Copy X, go to here, paste X. But instead of negative, it has to be positive. There we are. And then I simply rotate it till it looks exactly the same. Or I go to wireframe mode and pay attention to that it intersects the other light right where the y-axis is. There. Okay. Now you start noticing how our scene is actually getting more interesting. Now we can start adjusting everything a little bit more. Maybe this camera I bring a little bit further up and a little bit further back. Then this wall maybe a little bit higher. And I do think that the front walls are a little bit too far to the front. And then also there's not enough space for the book rack left and right. It feels kind of like tight. So I will do the following. I go to the top view, leave edit mode, select both the baseboard and the wall, go into edit mode, AA, select nothing, go to the points, select with B all these points, and then I press S and X and I stretch this apart. So I'm opening this up a little bit, maybe like here. Leave edit mode. And then I can go ahead, AA, B, select only this, bring this over. Now you see that looks better. AA, B, select this, bring it over to here. That looks also pretty good. Very nice. The lamps are pretty good. I select them, put them in the scene, and then here these lamps I don't want to select anymore. Because now I can go ahead with B, select my other lamps, bring them to here. And there again, I just use the grid to make sure I position them left and right the same way. Okay, kind of good. Maybe a little bit of the 0.5, 0.3. Yeah. I do turn these lamps on one more time. Move them up a little bit. Okay. Very nice. Perfect. What about I make them a tick bigger? 80 inches. There. And 30. Ah, yeah. That's good. Nice amount of light. Let's turn all the stuff off. Turn this off. I will do the following now. I will select all my bookshelf stuff and also the table. Shift left mouse button, click one object, and then I will go ahead, add a bevel modifier, 2 millimeters, just one step. That's good. Maybe 1 millimeter. And then I press Control L and say copy modifiers. Now all objects have that bevel modifier. But because the mesh is triangulated, sometimes we can have some, well, issues with the bevel command. With all those selected, I will go into edit mode, press A to select everything, and then I go to face and say convert the triangles to quad faces when possible. You notice here, there was a triangle before. It's now actually a quad. And in most cases, this bevel command now works better. And this goes back to when in Fusion I said like we don't need to fillet these edges for chamfer. We can do this in Blender as a modifier. Less geometry to import to animate. And we still get the same result. Pretty cool. Okay. I will show everything one more time. The lamps are kind of funny because there's no light in it. So let's put actually a light in there. And you notice also how I'm very specific in what object I'm working on and how I rotate them. Exactly inside this lampshade, I want to position a light body. So Shift S, cursor to the selected. Shift A, point light. There we are. Can go to a side view, bring this up or leave it where it is. And then I change the radius. Radius making this light a little bit bigger. G, bringing this then up to here. Yeah, plus minus. Okay, good. So I'm kind of like styling now the way how this looks. Perfect. Now this should actually be pretty decent. Okay, now the next step is actually very important to make our life animating everything a lot easier. With B, I select everything. And then nothing else is selected. I press with the Shift key and left mouse button this part. That's kind of like at the center. And then I press Control P to parent everything to this part. If I select this and press G to move around, you see everything moves. Oh, looks like there an element got missed. That one. Control P. Very good. Huh? Very easy. Since I have all this stuff done one time, where's this light? There. Alt D. Also here I want exactly the same light to be there. I don't want this to be parented to the other object. You see there's this dashed line. So control, and this is now Option or Alt P and say clear, but keep the transformation. Keep transformation means the moment I clear this parenting, the object stays where it is. Then I select everything, select the center part, Control P, object. Oops, perfect. To make animation in general a lot easier, I can also then AA, select all the stuff here, but not the floor. Maybe here make the floor not selectable. Select the top part, Control P, suck. There we are. Maybe I turn the scene off. That's easier. Suck. And suck. There we are. Then here with the table AA, B, select all this, select that, Control P, H to hide. And nope, I want to select the top, Control P, H to hide. You can see actually how fast I'm working. That's a nice thing of Blender. It's very key shot driven. You need to memorize them, but once you do, it is such a fast program to work. And then Alt H, you show everything again. There we are. Let's do a quick test. You move, you move. Yeah, that's very good. So what does this parenting actually mean? The parent you see drags the children with you, and then the children can move on their own. But if you drag the parent, the child still follows it. I wish my children would do that. So we kind of like have a lot of our stuff set up. We're getting ready to animate and be creative. Animation can be pretty time consuming, and it's always good to block things out. Maybe do a sketch of different frames or have an idea what we want to show in the different stages. And I will show you kind of like a quick overview of how easy it is to animate everything. This will kind of like be our final stage. So I will rotate this maybe to here. How much do I rotate? 55. Okay. And then I do the same here. So minus 55. That's nice and symmetrical. Very good. 30 inches. Let's see here, minus 30. You see why I'm very symmetrically positioning them. 30, very good. I don't really like this gap here. So what I will do now artificially, I will select the wall and the baseboard. Going to edit with the tab key, AA, B, select all this and simply move this a little bit back. There. Okay. The table is also very, very in the back. So AA, B, select all this, but not the walls, and then I move the stuff forward. I'm composing the image I want to have. This looks good. Everything is nice in symmetry, but this is very boring. So let's rotate this by 45 degrees. And it's still kind of symmetrical, but you can see it's less left, right, or so. The lamps are rotated, the tables are rotated. Oh, that's pretty cool. The foreground is nicely used up. That is something you really also do a lot in rendering, product photography. You create kind of like spatial illusions. Very good. So we have everything ready. Let's save this first. Compress, very good. Saving often is your best friend. Cool. Okay. Let's switch to the graph editor. The graph editor is where we define keyframes. Keyframe is a state of an object, the color, the size, the position, whatever, the strength of a lamp. And then we create keyframes and the software does the tweening, the blending between the keyframes. Sounds kind of complicated. Not a problem. I will show you how easy that stuff is. Okay, so the area lights we don't need to animate. The camera, not yet. So let's select actually our floor. The graph editor, middle mouse button, left and right, up and down. Shift, no wait, what is it? Control, middle mouse button, left, right, up and down is then the scaling. Okay. 30 frames define 1 second. So look at this. I go actually 30 frames forward. Over 1 second, I want to animate this wall. Sorry, floor. So here I press, for example, for the scale. Actually, hold on. Let's apply this first so it's easy. There. I press I. The scale is animated. A keyframe. Then I'll go back to frame 1. Just click and drag. We set this, now click and drag to 0 and press I again. And look at this. There's our animation. Flonk. See, pretty easy, no? At frame 60, I would like the wall to be there. Okay. Both kinda and the baseboard. So I press I. And over 30 frames, I would like this to blend in. So I go down and I can press I again. When I press I, you see it takes into consideration location, rotation, and scale when I click somewhere on the screen. If I go onto a value, it only keyframes that particular field. So look at this. Plonk, zack. Pretty cool, no? But we see, we can still see the baseboard and the wall. That's not cool. What can we do? Here's a very little trick. I go 1 frame backwards with the arrow key to the left, move this really far away, press I again, and there you can see, oh, it jumps over and then slides in. Little trick. I don't want to see these handles, so let's turn this off. So we only see the keyframes. Option, no, control, middle mouse button. Down there I can see the other keyframe. Okay, so we have that actually solved. So what's the first object that comes in? Let's say our book rack, this one. So at 90, it should be here. And I do an I right on the location. Then 30 frames back. So kind of here. And again an I. And now here I do the same trick. 1 frame back. And since the camera doesn't see this, I can just move this on top or also on the bottom. Doesn't matter. And I. Boom. There it is. Shift spacebar does the play. If Shift spacebar shows you the search menu, go to Preferences, key map here. Turn this on. There we are. Beautiful. And Shift spacebar stops it. So that's good. So 90. Now we go to 120 and we can think of these two pieces. I would like to animate them in a symmetrical way. Or I would like to animate both at the same time. So 90 now. Okay, good. So they should stop here. I go to the top view, press I, and then I can go back to 90 and think of, good, should they come in this way? No, that's kind of like too boring. What about we go to 20? So we go to 5. We bring them maybe halfway into here. Okay, and then I go to 90, and now I would like to move them to the outside. Let me show you something. We switch to individual origin and transform locations. S and X. No, which one was it? Origin. I always confuse this. No. Wait 1 second. Why isn't this? Don't go individual origins. Just bounding box. S and X. You see how I'm scaling the origin points away, and I do not scale the geometry. So it's kind of like we're moving the container to here. I for the location. Let's press Shift Spacebar. Flomp. Cool, no? Okay, now comes actually our table stuff. So 20, 30, that is 150. This is a tabletop. I, and I. And now we need to figure out, so 120, you, and you. We move up to somewhere. Let's go to here. Actually, hold on. Yeah, let's go to there. There. And, whoa, crazy movement. And press I. And this comes down. I would, however, like to have them kind of like one by one come down. Because I actually created all the keyframes already, I can do the following now. They all get 30 frames. This is my second object. I select everything, press G and X, and move this 5 frames. Select the next one, G and X, 10 frames. The next one, 15 frames. The next one, 20 frames. And the last one, 25. Dup, 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 dup. There, see, this is really very easy. You just have to work very structured. Okay, already at 200 frames. 300 frames is 10 seconds. Now, what can we do with the lamps? So let's say here we are there. So there's my lamp. Keyframe that position. You keyframe that position. Might have to see. So we go maybe 10 frames back. I select these two, go to a top view, move this to here, and and then I go another, so 20, another 10. There we are. And then we still have this turned on, say S and X, and I simply move this out of the frame. And Now I can press Shift Spacebar and see how this works. Oh, they're way too fast. You see that? Everything goes nice and slow and flop. They rush in like they're hungry. So both of these parents are selected. So what I will do is Controls middle mouse button, AA, B, select all this, and I will give this more time. So 210 plus 30 is, yeah, 240. Let's see. Yeah, I see that already feels a little bit better. And the end AAB, it's a shorter distance, so they don't need as many frames, but maybe to 260. Okay, that is good. But now the front's a tick too slow, so maybe I'm just moving this in 5-inch increments. Okay, yeah, it's actually not too bad. One thing I don't really like is, or what I would like to add is a little bit of rotation. So let me show you something. Here's part number 1, and then here are all my different values for the rotation. There we are, and you come in. So there I would like to add plus 360. I know I would like to have 2 turns, so that is 720 frames. This is actually minus, so minus 720. Enter and press I to bake this in. Now you see how, yeah, hold on. Now it's a little bit funny. We have this point here. Let's press X and delete this keyframe. There you see. Whoop. Gotta get X in. Maybe it's a little bit too much of a rotation, so to reduce this amount by the full turn, now this time plus 360. And another I for insert keyframe. Ooh. Very careful of where we do this. This one goes, this keyframe. I'm glad I made this mistake. So I have to go to this keyframe and then here plus 360 and I. Yeah, better. Now we have to do the same with the other one. So there is that piece. Also here, turn everything off. We don't need. This keyframe we can delete. And then, well, now here we add plus 360 and animate. Oh, what did I do? I made a little mistake. 245. Is that also for the position? Yes, it is. What did I do wrong here? So here's her look, the position for the location, but I did my rotation here. So no problem, G and X, bring this over. Now you see over the fold between two keyframes, they nicely choreographed are dancing. AAB, select what's all this stuff, delete keyframe. Oh, no, this one we need. That was for the movement. Careful with what you delete. Pro tip, trust me. Let's do a save again. Here, this light, I would like no to turn on. So actually here we say 0 and I for the light. Then we go to 5 frames. And what did we do? 20? Let's go with 20, nice and bright. And I. And you see the other light, because it's a clone, it does the same animation. That's the reason why the lights are cloned, but not really the rest. Okay, very good. Cool. Okay. Now we can actually think about the end of our animation. One last check. Maybe now I want to pump up this light. This feels better illuminated. These lamps are less strong. There's a nice, what's called ambient occlusion effect. Go back to here, turn this on. You can see this here probably the best. Click and drag. Oh, there, it's darker. Yeah, it's maybe too strong. You can see it darkens the area inside. So that's good. Very nice. 250, how do we actually end this? Well, we might want 20 frames for the person to look at the scene, and then our camera decides bye bye. So let's select the camera. We do a easy cop out. I for the keyframe 30, that's 290. And we say we go to here and I. That also means the animation has to be changed now to 290 frames. We can specify the output location, that's our desktop. Then we can specify the format, in this case AVI, Control S to render. We can do one last check. How does this look? You see Eevee is actually pretty awesome. It renders really fast. Can run in full time, real time. Okay. To render this a tick faster, we are actually at kind of like 1080p. Let's set this to 50%. Makes this rendering a tick faster. Then render animation. I know it. Oh, I forgot this one. Okay, good. Thank you. So, what did we do here wrong? So data come in. I need to go one further to here, and then there we do our ninja trick, move this out, and very good, fix the issue and render again. That's actually also why rendering previews in Eevee is very good to spot possible animation problems before you might actually render something in cycles, which will take longer. Yeah, the frames are under a second. Some of my commercial work, sometimes a frame can be at 1 minute. If we have 60 frames, you look at an hour. Most times my animations are 300, 600, 1,000 frames. You look into hours. So this pre-rendering is very good. But also this Eevee has a very nice animation quality. So if you want to simply create a quick rendering for study or render something that is not photorealistic, this is a perfect tool to use, and it is fast. And there we go away. There it is. To preview the animation, we can just go to View Animation, and there we are. Beautiful. To bring this lecture to an end, I would like to show you that Blender also has a video editor in it, which is actually pretty great if you want to cut your videos and change your animation. So for example, at frame 250, the lights are on, and then kind of like quite quickly we see the fade out animation happening. And I would like now there to be a bigger pause. And a pause I could simply do with a still image. So I will go to frame 250, keep this, then go to render. There's my still image. And this one I will save as an image. For example, still. There we are. Perfect. And now I'm going to switch to the video sequencer. There we are. First is we want to show the frames. It's easier. And then we switch this to sequencer and preview. Okay, here's the add menu. We can add scenes, video, images, transitions, fade in. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's actually quite sufficient if we want to do some basic cutting. Okay, so let's go ahead and add actually our video. There it is. And we'll drag this over till it reads frame 1 right here. And then now at frame 250, I want to do this pause. Okay, and then I click and drag this to the end. There. Let's bring in that still image. There it is. Very good. 250. So we have kind of like, go to 80. Drag this. And now we need to bring in the rest of our video we already rendered. So I will bring in this video one more time. I'll just put this on top so it's easier to see the overlay. Drag this down to 51. Yeah, that is fine. And then oops, to 51. And then the whole, that whole clip, I move to the end. So ignore what you see in the 3D view. So here, just pay attention to what you see in the preview. And this is now 320. Okay, so 320. There we are. Can zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, okay. Very good. Perfect. There we are. Great. Now, this is all done. I will change this now to final. So I give this actually a name. And then I go to simply render animation. And you will see how fast this is. Actually, I just re-exported that video one more time. It didn't render the scene. When you have elements inside the sequencer, it works like a video editor. Very good. Okay, with all this done, let's take a look at our final rendering with the edit. And there it is. You see, it goes in, come the pieces, pop, 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 pop. A nice pause, and then it fades out. Perfect. Okay, With all this, we reached the end of this introduction into how to do a basic product animation in Blender.